Hey, welcome everybody. Tervetuloa. Today we have something really special, so let's get going. We have a lot of ground to cover. So this is part of the Mimmit Koodaa Women Who Code webinar series 2024. And this is part of the fundamental series. And I will just jump into introduction. So everybody probably knows me. So hi, my name is Ursula. I'm the CTO for the Amazon Web Services in the Nordics. And yeah, you have been seeing me a lot, but hey, I have somebody new with us that I would really like to introduce. So Pravin, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hey everyone, very good morning and welcome once again. And as you see, I'm Pravin Misra and I'm working as an enterprise architect and I'm author of two books, Cloud Computing with AWS and Mastering AWS. And my third book, Git and Git Fundamental, coming soon. I'm also AWS certified trainer, having altogether 14 plus years of the experience, 8 plus on AWS. And today I'm going to deliver some technical part of the webinar. So welcome once again and very excited to having you here. Over to you, Ursula.
Thank you, Pravin. And Maria.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. For those who didn't meet me last week, I'm Maria. I'm solutions architect for the public sector here in Nordics and working together with Ursula in the Mimmit Koodaa program, as well as in the Amazon Nordics team.
So, hey, let's get going. So today, I want to do just a quick shout out to my team. So, hey, Amazon Global, thank you so much for your support. We wouldn't be here without you, and also like the fantastic, all the love. So, hey, we talked about a few things before we kicked off last time, and I want to repeat certain things. So there were kind of key questions of why are we here, who are we, and where are we going? And I would like to summarize on that a bit. So the question of why are we here, or why are you here, is a good one. So what do you want to learn? Like, what do you want to learn to build? Where do you want to take your career? That's something that we will touch upon here throughout our journey. Who are we? We are quite diverse, so it's cool to see a lot of people joining us across the globe even. We also see that there are people streaming this from other time zones that may not fit the like our timing, our live timing. Really cool. Hi to those also. And hey, great to see you. So where are we going? This path, so fundamentals path, is aimed for practitioners, so basic level Amazon Web Services certification. But you could also look at it in ways that you want to change your career, you want to have a new career, you're just kicking off your career. So ask yourself, what do you want to learn and where are you going to use it? One obvious answer could be, I want to have a certification. So that's fine. You can focus on the certification path, absolutely. But you can also do this to have practical sense of what we are doing, how things work. So it doesn't have to be, it's not mandatory. There was a couple of questions last session about the certifications, and I want to clarify certain things. Our team, Amazon Web Services, will sponsor your certification. So that's a paid certification. So it's part of the program. You can find the frequently asked question section on the website, on the landing page. So we will share the landing page again in the chat. But it is a paid certification. So if you decide to join us, if you decide to kind of go through the whole journey with us, be mindful that there's also certain limited amount of space, just seats for sessions. So we would love to see all of you graduate if that's possible. So, and a reminder, the path is not from A to B. So wherever you're starting from, the path might look different. But we are here to support you, to help you out, to guide you through. And we will also talk about career options along the way. So don't worry about it. It's not about just only tech. But today, before I will hand over to Pravin, I will talk about a bit about the journey that we are on, also from the perspective of Amazon and Amazon Web Services. And you might wonder, because it's not necessarily always technical, that why am I talking about this? Let me share a bit. So last time we talked about how Amazon Web Services and Amazon got established. but let me share a bit about something that we call day one mentality and a bit of history and background why we are here. So as Amazon and Amazon Web Services, our mission is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. But the question is, what does that mean? So anything that we do in any given day has to start with one question. So all the innovation, everything that we do has to start with the question, who is the customer? And what does the customer need or want? And one thing to keep in mind, you might have an understanding of what the customer wants or needs, but are you correct? So you have to always test that assumption in the real life. I will not share I have a lot of slides, so I will not go through all of the slides. We will talk about, I guarantee we'll talk about tech soon. But I will share certain things and certain mechanisms that we use to actually build the company that we are. So, okay, we are focusing on the customer and we are working backwards. So there's a lot of debate around how do you know what the customers need? And you can look at products that we offer. So let's say we are providing the retail products, we are providing devices, we have the tech solutions of Amazon Web Services, we have Amazon Prime, so we have streaming content, consumables, physical retail, etc. That's all cool. But if you want to actually test and innovate something, you have to actually look at the mechanisms, how we do that. So we talk about a cycle of innovation. And we start with the customer first, and then we look at the process itself and how that product itself is built. So we have to start with the innovation part. So the innovation part from our side looks like culture, mechanisms, organization, and architecture. So how do a big company like Amazon Web Services come together and work together and innovate together? There are certain mechanisms that I would like to share today and kind of hand over to you for kind of food for thought, is that in order to innovate, we have to have certain principles that we share. And we call them leadership principles at Amazon. And those leadership principles, I could take the whole session and talk about just the leadership principles, but they are quite broad. So there's a lot of topics in there. We start with the first obvious thing, which is the customer obsession. So customer comes first, the customer need comes first. But we have things like ownership. We have think big, frugality, earn trust, etc. Why do you need to care about this? So wherever you're working and whoever you're working with, it makes your life easier if you have a shared language. And now I'm not talking about the language that you speak as a native language. I'm talking about the language that we share through certain terms. And leadership principles is something that we have found to be a very good starting point. So it's not about marketing, like some may say, hey, you're just doing a marketing thing. No, this is something we use every day. Each and every day we talk about leadership principles, and we also have to agree on those and share those. So those are kind of a living being, and that builds the language that we use inside Amazon and Amazon Web Services. We also talk about things like invent and simplify. So invention and teams, and how do we build teams? So how do you build new things around the product areas and the offerings that you're building for the industry? So we can be also misunderstood. We can also sometimes fail. So that's also one acceptable thing in life, that you have to fail in order to succeed. But sometimes you also have to be misunderstood in order to be successful. And what does that look like? So let me take a couple of examples on those, so that will put a context on this. So for example, when we look at product lines that are physical products, there was a lot of questions around the first generation of Kindle products. So basically the e-readers. We were not the first company to launch this. We were not the last company to launch this. And it may not have been the most elegant design, but it grew into a beautiful product that there's really a need. and it has built a baseline for the industry. So you have to be misunderstood at some point in order to get to your goals. But also you have to have bias for action. And this is one of our leadership principles. So bias for action, what does that mean? You have to do things in order to learn things. You have to try things in order to succeed. And sometimes, yes, you have to also fail at things in order to find the way that works. So failing as a word, think about retrying, finding a way that will function and work. I will share a couple of more mechanisms, and then we'll start talking about what are you innovating with. So there's a mechanism that we also use in our day-to-day language, and it's a language that we use around decision making. And we ask ourselves, is something a one-way door or two-way door decision? What does that mean? So if it's a one-way door decision, it's a door that you cannot open again, or it's a door that is very hard to open again. So let's say in personal life, you could take an example of, let's say that you're in university right now, and you decide to quit university and go work for a company. That's not necessarily completely one-way door decision. You could go back, you could actually decide to do a decade of work and then go back to university, but it's very close to a one-way door decision. So it's hard to reverse, or it's harder to reverse. Of course, in life, there's a lot of like really permanent one-way door decisions that are extremely, extremely kind of brutal. But let's take a two-way door decision. Let's build a product. Let's try something. We notice that that didn't work. We can change it. We can implement. We can redesign it. So ask yourself, whenever you're making a decision about your career, about your training, about anything in life, is it the one-way door? Can I go through this door again? Or is it a two-way door decision? If it's a two-way door decision, I would actually say, be brave enough to take that leap and opportunity. Of course, use data, use your brain to make that decision, but take that leap and say, I can take a chance on this because I can open this door again. In order to get to great goals and great product outcomes, we ask ourselves what the customer would like to see, or what we assume that the customer would like to see. Like, who is the customer? What is the customer problem or opportunity? What's the benefit for the customer? Why would the customer would like to see this product in action? And how do we actually know what the customers need or want? And around those, we build a business proposition. So we do a lot of writing. So we do a writing, frequently asked questions, visuals. So you might have heard that we never ever use slides. Well, here you see me using slides. So we sometimes do use slides, but we do tremendous amount of writing. And we do also tremendous amount of summarizing. So you need to get to a very compact writing goal of explaining why this would work. And everything is built around teams, and we use quite small teams. So we have something called 2 pizza teams. And 2 pizza team means you have a team that you can feed with 2 pizzas. We are talking about the big kind of the family kind pizzas. So there's a limited amount of people. They have ownership over their products. They have autonomy to make decisions, even when they are hard, and even when they are one-way door decisions. So that's to keep in mind. So you have to have ownership of your goals, of your products, of your training, anything that you do in life that matters, in order to be able to also plan for it. And one thing to keep in mind, do we sometimes fail? Yes, we do. So there is failure, and there's always option for failure. So we use data to lead the projects. We do experimentations, but sometimes, yes, we create products that may look like people don't like them. So as in everything in life, you may also fail, but that's also when you learn. So learn from failures. So the aim is to accelerate the journey, accelerate the pace of innovation. And one thing that really highly resonates with me personally is the fact that we use something we talk about there's no compression algorithm for experience. So that means if you have trained yourself, applied your science, failed, retried, found a way that works, that is experience. That cannot be taken away. So you will always have that experience. And you can't really compact that. So you have to use your time, you have to use your effort. And that is one of the things behind the Amazon magic. So why am I talking about this? So we would supposed to be talking about tech, right? So I would like to ask you a question. What are you passionate about? So what do you want to build? What do you want to do with your career? So all the tools that we're talking about here today, and you're going to be able to use, implement, try, you can use to build your innovation. So as a reminder from the previous session, we talked about what the cloud provides. So it's a lot of building blocks, a lot of solutions. It increases the pace, so you can innovate faster, so experiment faster. You have the cost control, so you always know how much it costs. And then you can actually build the next best humongous creation, whatever you're passionate about. So that gives you kind of a canvas that you can paint on. So that is where I would like to remind you, yes, there's a lot of tools. This is the beginning of the journey. And I know that the toolbox might look like this at the moment, that there's a lot of Legos, there's a lot of stuff, but that's why we are here. So Pravin, I think I can hand over to you. So could you guide us through the kind of the amazing building blocks?
Sure. Thank you so much, Ursula. Really good information, and I really learned a lot from you here. So thank you so much for that. And from here, we'll start diving into these technical things. But before we do that, a couple of things. I would like to make this whole session interactive, so you can get most out of it. So I will really appreciate if you people can turn on your video if you can, or you at the place from where you can. So please do that. And this very good feature in the Zoom, you can use the background, so you don't need to clean your room. So please go ahead and use this feature. Second important things, you can also chat with me. So while presenting this technical part, I'm going to ask some questions. So try to reply there, so I know you are observing me. I'm giving you the information. We are on the same page. And third important point, this also emoji. So now and then I'm going to ask you something, give me thumbs up, give me high five. So please use this emoji to make it interactive. To just make sure you know all this toolbox. So please type hi in the chat box to make sure you know where is the chat box. Fantastic. I see Anna, Tirupati. Oh, thank you so much. Now my chat is blowing. Thank you so much. I really love this. And now next things before I start, please give me a thumbs up, use the emoji, and I will get started without wasting any time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Perfect. Super. Now let me adjust my screen little bit. I have a couple of screen. So make sure you see the right screen. And now I'm going to present my screen and we'll get started. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much and welcome once again. So anything on AWS start with AWS Global Infrastructure. When we say AWS Global Infrastructure, there's many components we need to understand, and this is very detailed topic. So I'm not going to go in all topics, but today I'm going to cover AWS region, AWS ability zones, local zones, and point of presence. Then direct connect location will be covered in the networking section that's coming later, and also outpost and wavelength. With that, let's go to the next slide and understand what is AWS region. AWS region is geographical location on the earth. So you see the globe map here, and here you see this point. So this is one geographical location. Now here, this is one geographical location. It could be something London. And here another, you see the Sydney. So anyone and someone say, what is AWS region? So AWS region is geographical location. To get clear picture of it, let me take you to the AWS documentation, and I will say AWS documentation should be your best friend all the time when you are learning AWS. And if you scroll down, you see here, AWS has 33 AWS regions. What does it mean? It means AWS has presence at 33 geographical location on the world. You see Tokyo here, Stockholm, London, Sydney, and like this. Now question comes, why this is matter and what is exactly there on these regions? If you are thinking, then answer is, on this AWS region, we have AWS data center. What is AWS data center and what is data center? Data center is nothing but a physical building where we have thousands of the servers. And on these servers, we have AWS services like compute, storage, networking, and database. And we access these services from this data center. Now, when we say AWS region, there is another concept called availability zone. What is availability zone? Availability zone is cluster of data center. So when we say availability zone, then availability zone has more than one data center. So here you see we have 1, 2, and n, and we don't know exactly how many data center we have in these availability zones. And like this, in one region, we have multiple availability zone. Now question comes, okay, Praveen, we have AWS region. We know we have AWS region at the certain location. Then on this region, we have the data center. And then we have availability zone. And availability zone, okay, availability zone is cluster of data center. Then why do we need it? We need it for the resiliency. So let's say when you are deploying your application or designing infrastructure for your application, so if one data center goes down, then it should not affect your application. Your application still should be running. For that, we need multiple data centers to run your application or support your application. There's a couple of more features about availability zones we need to understand to get most out of it. Like this, each availability zone is completely isolated from one another. It's use separate cooling, separate power, and all together this is more than at least 60 miles away. What does it mean? It means if something goes wrong in one data center, it's not going to affect another set of data centers. So it helps us making our application infrastructure high available and resilient. If this is clear so far, give me thumbs up or type clear in the chat box. Perfect. I see clear from the Tanya. Rosa, thank you so much. Now, again, though this cluster of data center that we call availability zone, do remember this is AWS specific term. These are again connected with metro fibers. So if you have one applications, one part running in this availability zones, another in this availability zones, and if you need to share the data, your data can communicate within microsecond. So these are different features or availability zones. Now, let's go to the AWS account and see how looks like and how this is matter for you. So this is my AWS account. And here, if you go on AWS account, then here on top corner, you see different regions. Here we see we have the North Virginia. This is somewhere in the US. Then we have Mumbai. In the India, if you scroll down, in the Europe, we see Frankfurt, Ireland, London, and Paris. So what is mean when I'm selecting here? Let's go here, Stockholm. Okay, Stockholm is already selected. What does it mean? It means whatever now from this point of time, after selecting this region, okay, let me change again. Let's select the Ireland. So after selecting this region, whatever I'm going to do in this account, everything will be get created somewhere near Ireland. So why this is so important? There's couple of reasons and couple of consideration you should do when you are selecting AWS region. First, latency. So imagine, let me go to the AWS documentation again. Let's say, okay, before let me define what is latency. Latency is nothing but a delay. If you are trying to access me from, let's say, Helsinki, I'm sitting in the Espoo, it will take time for you to reach to me, right? So this time delay is called latency in simple term, if you understand. Now let's say if you have the application, and this application is only useful and this is needed by European Union people. Then if you go and deploy this application and host this application somewhere in USA, then they will see the latency when they will try to access the application. Maybe if you host this in Australia, again, they will see the latency, but we don't want. We want to give best performance to our user, right? So latency is very, very important. So for that point of view, you should always select the region that is closest to your user or your customer. First point. Now, what is second point? Second point is governance and the compliance. So we know GDPR, right? What GDPR said? GDPR says if you have the application, and in this application, if you are taking, let me get my pencil, if you are getting data of the European Union people, personal information, this data should not leave European Union continent, right? So this is called compliance. So different country has the different compliance. It's not just about a country. This is also about the different industry. So a insurance company will say, okay, if insurance industry will say, if you are collecting information of user from the Finland, this data should not go outside of the Finland. Again, for the HIPAA compliance, this VCS DSS compliance, that is for the credit cards and all. This is a different compliance, and all compliance has their own rules. So also we need to consider governance and compliance as well while selecting AWS region. If this is clear, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to tell you two more important things. Perfect. Thank you so much. I see so many thumbs up here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, next important point is service availability. We know AWS has 33 regions. And again, when I'm saying 33 regions, maybe after 2 months, once you come to this page, you will see 35 regions. So always keep close eyes on AWS documentation for up-to-date information. So another, when we see we have 33 regions, all AWS services not available in all AWS regions. So that's also keep in mind when you are designing solution for the customer. And third, cost. Different continent has the different cost factor. So if you're setting up data center somewhere in the Japan, so their land cost building cost will be different as compared to something we are doing in the Stockholm. So cost is also factor. So these are 4 important points you should cover and think when you are selecting AWS region. If all clear, give me thumbs up once again. Now we'll jump on the next topic. So far we've understood regions, ability zones, and data center and why you should select AWS region. Perfect. Now, here you may be thinking, Praveen, makes sense. In the screen, what we see, we have a region in Stockholm, but we don't have a region in Finland. We are sitting here in the Finland, right? So because maybe of the compliance reason or maybe due to latency reason, if you want to run my application from the Finland, do you have any other options? Yes, we have option, and this option is called AWS local zone. Let me change color of my pencil so you will see clearly. We have local zones. What is AWS local zone? AWS local zone is a small data center as compared to AWS region. We know AWS region has multiple ability zones. Each ability zones has cluster of data center. But in case of the AWS local zones, we have a small data center and it has also AWS services, but limited AWS services. Now, this information, we can get it from, again, AWS documentation. If you go on this site, AWS local zones, and here we see, we have local zones across the globe. So let's search for Finland. You type here, Finland, we see we have local zone in the Finland. Okay, so we can again run our application and use AWS services from these local zones. So when we should use local zones, couple of region, maybe again compliance, if you need the ultra latency, and here you see all AWS services, sorry, not all AWS services, core AWS services like compute, storage, networking, database, and all. Again, you should check all this in details when you're going to use local zones. If this is clear, give me a thumbs up. How can you access local zones? Very good question. I will show you soon. Okay. Let me show you now itself. Okay. So let's go to my AWS console. So now you know how to access AWS regions. And this is AWS region. And one important point, each region has a code, a specific code. You see here, Ireland has code EU West 1, whereas Stockholm has EU North 1. Okay. Now let's go to the EC2 console. And if you scroll down here, you will see AWS zones. And again, this zone has a specific code. So for the Ireland, code is EU West 1, right? Then we have one zone, there is called EU West 1A, then 1B and 1C. So from what we see here, we have 3 ability zones in Ireland region, right? Similar, if you go here, let's go here and select the North Virginia. And this is one of the oldest AWS region. And here you will see around 6 to 7 AWS ability zone. You see here. Now, let's go back to Stockholm. So to make you understand how you get the local zones. Now, we know Stockholm has 3 ability zones, but if you want to enable local zones, then click here on enable local zones. And now here you see we have 2 local zones that can work along with Stockholm. One is in Denmark, another is in the Finland. Okay, so from here you can select, you can enable AWS local zones. If this is clear, give me a thumbs up and we'll jump on the new topic. Perfect, super. Now, as I promised, here we understood a region, we understood ability zones, local zones, what is point of presence. Okay, let's again go to the AWS documentation. Again, I will repeat, this is your best friend when you are learning AWS. And I will tell you one of the best documentation I have seen ever. So always look at and follow AWS documentation. Okay, now let's say you have selected a Stockholm region to deploy your application. And after a couple of years, you realized this application become very famous. And this application is all about streaming video. Streaming video. So you see people from across the globe accessing your application. Then when people will access from here, right, they will have the latency. We know very well. And one thing you need to know, when data is getting transferred from one location to another location, it don't go like this. Okay, data go with the different hopes. Okay, it will maybe go here, then it will go here, then it will go here, then maybe it will go to the Sydney. So this takes a lot of time. So if you want to cache your data, if you want to cache these videos, maybe could be the image, could be the file, we use another AWS service. Okay, we use another technology called CDN, Content Delivery Network. And if you want to cache this content, and for that you can use another AWS service called CloudFront. Again, this will be covered in detail in the networking part. But this CloudFront CDN service get hosted again in a small data center, and this data center is called edge location. And AWS has 450 plus edge locations. Okay, and this edge location is once again a small data center where we have CDN service CloudFront. Along with that is also host another AWS service called Route 53, that is DNS service. So to summarize it, AWS point of presence is nothing but again a small data center where we have CDN and Route 53 to cache our data. If this is clear, give me a thumbs up. Now we are going to jump on complete new topic. Perfect. Now, we understood AWS region, AWS ability zones, and local zones. Now, quickly, okay. Now, so this is a basic concept we understood. Now, to do anything in your AWS account, you need, to do anything in AWS, you need AWS account. What is AWS account? AWS account is a container where you create your own, AWS services and resources. This will be completely dedicated to you. It will be only visible to you. So to create and launch any AWS resources and services, you need AWS account. To get this AWS account, what do you need? To get this AWS account, you need two things. So let's say you need this AWS account to create AWS resources or maybe launch your application. So you need a email ID and a unique email ID. And you also need a credit card or debit card. So credit card and debit card will be used for the billing purpose. And I will not go in detail, but for you, if you are new to the AWS, learning AWS, then you can use AWS free tier services. Okay, and I have very detailed video on that. I will explain you sometime where do you get it. Okay, so you can use AWS free tier services, so you will not get billed at all. Okay, so we understood we need credit card. Another things, as I said, you need email ID. So once you create AWS account, there will be a couple of screens you have to follow. They will provide the email ID. Along with that, you will also provide a password to access this AWS account. And all together, this email ID and password in terms of AWS called root user. Do remember, it's a very important question if you are planning for AWS certification. So it will be asked, what is root user? So root user is identity get created in your AWS account when you create your AWS account first time. It's used your email ID, and again you give the password to access this AWS account. This is called root user. Root user is very, very important. It's important because this is most powerful identity in your AWS account. It has everything. So you can think it as a master key of your house. What does it mean? It means if you lost your master key of your house, means you need to change the complete lock. So technically, what you should do, you don't use the master key all the time when you're going outside of your home. So what you do, you use the duplicate key or different key, right? Same concept goes here as well. You should not be using root user for your day-to-day activity. Then what you do, you will create another user inside your AWS account, and this user is called IAM user. If this is clear so far, give me a thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank you so much who is interacting with me. I really love this because I know what I'm delivering here. You are able to absorb and we are on the same page. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. So now what we understood, to create AWS account, you need credit card for the billing purpose, but you can use AWS free tier. I will tell you in some time. Another, you need email ID and password to create your AWS account, and this is called root user. It's most powerful user of your AWS account, so you should not be using for your day-to-day purpose. And for that, we'll create another user, and this is called IAM user. Then what is IAM is? IAM stands for identity and access management. What is identity? Identity is, let me show you definition of the identity. So identity is being fact of who. I am Praveen, right? I have this computer. This is a fact. This is the computer, right? So identity is nothing but which can be identified as a being something. That's called identity. So what this service do is manage identity. It could be the user, could be a machine. So identity and access of your AWS account. Now, let me do the whiteboarding. So here we have AWS account. And this is the service called IAM, Identity and Access Management. So IAM do basically two things, three things. First thing is manage identity. Second thing, it's give access. Okay. Second thing is do authentication. And third is do authorization. What is authentication? So let's assume here we have, with the service, we have created a user called Vera. There is a student in the list, I see. Okay, we created Vera to access this AWS account. Okay, now once I create this user, then to access this account, Vera need to be authenticated with the username and password, which I will give it to her. So I am do the authentication, make sure Vera is the right person to access this AWS account. Once she will give a right email ID and password, or maybe username and password to access this AWS account, she will get into this AWS account. Once she will get in AWS account, it does not mean she can create AWS resources and services. Like if you get the access card of your office or maybe university, what is mean? It means you can go in the office campus, you can go in the college campus. It didn't mean you can go in the HOD room or maybe CEO room or maybe in the finance room. To get access to this particular room, you need authorization. Okay, same concepts go here as well. So we need to authorize what Vera can do in this AWS account. So this is called authorization. And this authorization we do with giving the permission. Permission. So we give permission. And this permission we do with a specific AWS resource of IAM called policy. I will talk in detail. So far, if this is clear, what is identity and access management, what this service do, give me a thumbs up. Or if you want me to repeat once again, type R in the chat box, repeat, or maybe R, I will repeat it. Because this is very important concept if you are getting started with the AWS. I see so many hands, thumbs up, looks all good. One person is saying repeat, so let me repeat it. So what is IAM? IAM stands for identity and access management. It's do three things. First things, it's manage identity. Identity could be a person, could be the service, okay, and could be any machine. Okay, you will learn all these things later. You will see as a practically, but it's manage identity. Then it's do two additional things. One is authentication. So once we create this user, then this user need to be authenticated to access this account. So we'll give username and password. So once Vera will give right username and password to access this AWS account, so IAM will authenticate and say, hey, yes, you are right person to access this account. I have your all details and it's matching. What is do? Then second things, once Vera is in this account, it means she want to do something in this AWS account, right? Maybe she want to create some resources, deploy some application. So she need permission, she need authorization. And how do we authorize? We authorize with giving her the permission, and permission look like something you can do this, and you cannot do this. And this permission we give with the AWS resource of IAM called policy. Clear? Give me a thumbs up. Fantastic.
There is one question in the chat, and I think it's something that we can take together also. There's a question of, is there a limit of how many user accounts you can create with IAM? And also, I think maybe you cover a few things about the quotas and what are soft limits and what are hard limits.
Right. So there is the limit. Okay, how many users? Okay, already Maria said. So there's 5,000 IAM user you can create per account. Okay, and there is another way. Okay, maybe it will be a little bit advanced topic. Okay, if still you see there's the limitation of the 5,000. But in practically, once you start working with a big organization, okay, then you will see they don't have only 5,000 people. They want to access AWS account. How they will access? For that, we use a special feature called identity federation, where we can federate we can federate access of AWS resources with your existing identity service. It could be Active Directory, Okta, Ping Directory. Once again, this is advanced topic, not to worry at this point of time. But to answer your question, you should know this. If there is the limitations, okay, still you can do that. And one important thing as this point arised here, there's two types of limitations on AWS resources and services. One is called soft limitation, another is called hard limitation. So soft limitation could be changed any point of time. You can go on AWS documentation and type and search limitations on AWS services. You will see very good documentation where is given soft limit and hard limit. So soft limit could be changed. If you want to change it, you need to raise a request to the support team and they will change for you. You have to give, yeah, what changes do you want? This is also hard limit, means that cannot be changed. But again, this is a hard limit. Okay, I can tell you, okay, I'm working with the AWS from the last 8 years, 10 years. Okay, if something is not possible, and as a customer, if you raise the request, feature request, okay, they will come up with the solution. Okay, so you can take this advantage as well, and that is only I have seen with the Amazon Web Services. So that is flexibility, you can get it. Perfect. Now I think let's jump on the AWS console and little bit try to understand this IAM from there. If you want to see from the AWS console, give me a thumbs up and I will take you on my AWS console. Perfect, very nice. So let's go to the AWS console, and here to access AWS service, okay, when I will log in, you will see this kind of page here. Okay, so here you can access AWS services from here, or maybe you can also search from here. And another way, if you are actively working on the AWS, you can also see from the recently visited services. Okay, so I have been using IAM, so I can see from here. So let's click here. And now this is my IAM dashboard. And here on the left side, we see different types of access management and the access reports. It's very important, okay? And you can look around when you have the time. But here, as I said, here we have the user. And here you see I have different user. So let's say if I want to create and give access to Vera of this account, I will click on this button, create a user. It's very simple. I will go and give her a name. Then there's two types of access of AWS account. One is called management console. The console, what you are seeing on my AWS account, on my dashboard, this is called management console. This another way where I can also access my AWS account from command line, CLI, or maybe from different tools. Okay, so for that we need to give programmatic access. Let's not go in that detail. Here I will select, yes, I want to give Vera access of management console. We'll scroll down. Then here I want to create IAM user. Okay, then already I have selected user name. Then I also need to select the password. So I can create the custom password. Okay, let me give the password. Then again, I will untick it, means she need to change the password. When she will sign in, go to the next. But now you see I'm getting here error. It's saying your password must be 8 characters long. So from the security perspective, AWS is very well designed, taking care of security of your AWS account, of your AWS resources. And one of them is making sure person who is accessing your AWS account, he has a right password which is following your organization compliance. So I have set the password policy, and you can also set password policy for your AWS account. And one of the password policies, password must be at least 8 characters. It could be also, once this password is get set, this should be rotated after 90 days, maybe after 60 days, and many more. But let's not go in that detail. So we understood this, and now let me minimize this and give the password that is more than 8 character. Okay, go to the next. Then here, now I want Vera to do something in my account, right? That's where I said we need to give permission to Vera, right? Then how do we give the permission? There is the couple of way. One way, add to the group. What is group? Let's understand this, very important concept. So let's say Vera is here and I want to give her access of my AWS account. And there's another person called, let's say, Mark. He also want to access my AWS account, and both are developer. Both are developer and both need same permission. So instead of creating this user one by one and giving them permission one by one, what I can do, I can create this user, then I will create a group, and then I will add permission to this group. And once I will add these users, maybe third user in this group, he will get the same permission, what permission we have attached to this group. So this is concept of the group in IAM. So it says, do I want to add Vera in the group? If you see, I have here 2 groups. I can maybe add for the websites, and she will get all permission what I've given to this group, or maybe the cloud advisory. So she will get all this permission. But here, let's say I don't want to add her in any group. What option I have? Another option I have, I can copy permission from any existing user. So let's have here a person called Ram, and I want to copy his permission. I can also do that. But let's say if I don't want to do that, what other option? Other option is attach policy directly. So I can attach policy directly. And I said we can use AWS, another resource called policy. Now, if you scroll down, you will see here we have different types of the policy. So do I want to give her admin access, or do I only want to give her access of, let's type EC2, or EC2 maybe read-only access or maybe full access. So we can do that. So this is a policy. Policy is again very detailed topic, okay? And policy is the different types of the policy that you can need to understand. But here for time being, let's close this and give her the policy administrator access. Then go to the next, and that's all. Create a user, and user is got created. Now I will give this login ID, this username, and this password to the Vera, and Vera will be able to access my AWS account. If this is clear, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Now here I'm talking so many topics, so many concepts, right? So maybe if you want to revise all these topics, how do you do that? For that, if you notice, it's already announced in the Slack group, you can get access of my Udemy course. And this Udemy course, you will get completely free of cost. And here I have covered everything, what I'm teaching you in very detail. Okay. So let me take you, okay, let me tell you a couple of things about this course. Okay. In this course, it's not very long course of the 30 hours, 35 hours. I have designed this course for the beginner who want to get started. So this is only 8.5 hours of the content, very precise and very clear. After each video, there is the quizzes that you can use to make sure if you watch the video, you are clear with the concepts. So I will test your knowledge here. Then for each modules, we have the MCQ. Then there's also notes for the each module I have attached there. You can print it out and you can use for the offline reading. And most importantly, this course has also capstone project. Means from the beginning of the course, I have introduced a project, and this project you will be doing when you are completing module one by one. So you will learn the theory, then complete that part of the project in that module, then again go for the next topic. So this is called capstone project. There's also 120 practice sets that you can use for the practicing. Now, let me quickly show you this course on the Udemy. Okay. And here I was talking about AWS free tier. If you go in getting started, here I have very detailed topics about AWS free tier that you can watch it. This also demo how to create AWS account, and also security and all is covered in very detail. As we are on the IAM, and identity and access management is very, very important. So if you go in identity and access management, you will see you have very detailed topics about the policies, IAM user and groups, and also best practices for the security perspective. So you need to fill the form. I think form is already shared with you to get access of this course and go in more detail. Now, let's go back to our topic of identity and access management, and let's do quick recap. So what is IAM? IAM is service. With help of that, we can create the user, we manage user, and give them the permission to access AWS resources and services. Next, we use IAM to manage roles and their permission. We'll say, Praveen, okay, what is a role? Okay. And let me tell you, if you're going to work as a cloud engineer and the cloud developer and the cloud architect, in IAM role is used around 70%, and you will be using 70% times IAM roles if you need to use any services from the IAM. Roles is very important concept. So let's understand this with a simple example. Let's say here, okay, let's go to the whiteboard. Let's say here we have AWS account, and in this account we have two applications. One is called app 1 and another is called app 2. App 2. Okay. And here I am working as a admin for this application, and for this application I'm working as a developer. So what does it mean? It means I need administrator access for this application and developer access for this application. So technically, whatever permission will be attached to me and the policy, it will have admin access as well as developer access. But this is not best practice. It means if unintentionally, okay, where this app 2 I have developer access and I'm not supposed to delete any resources, I can do mistakenly, I will do that. So to avoid that, we can use IAM role. IAM role used in the multiple purpose. We are taking one example. Okay. So what I will do when I log into my this AWS account, I will log in as a developer and do everything in my AWS account. When I need to act as an administrator for this account, I will switch the role. Understand the term. I can either switch the role or assume the role of the admin. Then again come to this account and access this application where I will have the admin access. And one point of time, a person can have one role only. So we use role. So this is one of the example of using IAM role. So IAM role again will have the policy, and based on the policy, I will get the access. IAM roles also used for if you want to access resources from one account to the another account. Again, here you can switch role from this account. You can switch a role from this account to access AWS resources. One very important concept of IAM role is also federated access of AWS account. So when, as I said, when you have existing identity service and those peoples want to access AWS account, we use federated access, and federated access use the role. Role is a little advanced topic. Okay, again, I need to go in more detail, but I think that's good enough for you to understand. If this is clear so far, give me a thumbs up. And from here, we are going to jump on new topics on AWS core, or sorry, AWS fundamental services. So if all clear, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Now, before I will jump there, okay, just a reminder, okay, when you are accessing AWS services, or you are giving access of your AWS account to access AWS resources, always use least privilege permission. And this is IAM best practice, and this is very well I have explained in these IAM best practice topics. So if you get this course, look into that. But what does it mean? It means only give access of the resource to any person or any identity the access what it need. Let me give you the example. So let's say if there is Nina and she need access of your AWS account where she only need to see how many EC2 instance running in your AWS account. So you should only give read access of EC2 instance. You should not give full access of EC2 instance. So this is called least privilege. So you should always follow, and it's very important from the security perspective. Now, with that notes, let's jump on the new topic, AWS fundamental services. And if you're new to AWS, you're getting started, okay, this is most important services you should focus on. And when we say AWS core services and foundational services, there is 4 service. Let me get a water. First is compute, storage, database, and networking. So you should master in identity and access management and this AWS 4 core services: compute, storage, networking, and database. And top of that, you can also go a little bit more detail about high available architecture, HA. And that's what you need when you are getting started with the AWS. Okay. Anyways, now here we have around 40 minutes, not 40 minutes, around 30 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to cover storage and the compute. Okay. And you will have a special session on the networking. Okay. Coming sometime in the future. If you have seen all the learning path, and also database is covered in the very detail, will be covered. So today let's start with the storage and compute. So let's jump on the storage first. what is storage? Storage is the service where you can store your data. Storage is you can say also the place where you can store your data. So there is different types of the storage. Okay, one is called object storage. Then we have block storage. Then we have also file storage. Let's understand this. This is very, very important. And these basic concepts, okay, IT concept, you should know as a cloud engineer. So what is object storage? Object storage is the storage when you store any data on this storage, then this data works in a row model, WORM, write once, read many. So underline this object storage technology, the way it works, okay, you can write once, but you can read many times. It means you cannot modify data in place. Like the file, right? When you have the file on your computer and the laptop, we can open it, modify it. So this is write many, read many, okay, write many and read, okay, write many and read many kind of technology, right? Behind the scene. But in object storage, it's ROM. You write once and read many times. Take an example, your Google Drive. On your Google Drive, when you upload any video and the image, what is mean? Means you cannot open the image, you can edit it there. You can edit the video over there, right? If you need to edit it, you need to download it, then edit it, then again re-upload it. So because the nature of this hardware is object storage. So if you have the requirement of the object storage in AWS, you can use AWS service called S3, simple storage service. I will cover this in very details. Okay, so this is object storage. Now another is block storage. What is block storage? In block storage, when we store any data, then data get stored in the block wise. Your data will be splitted. It will be stored in the block wise, a small block. It means it gives you flexibility to do in place update of the data. Where do we use in our day-to-day life? Your laptop operating system use block storage. This is a good example. So if you need the block storage in AWS Cloud, you can use EBS, Elastic Block Storage. Now, there is another type of storage called file storage. In file storage, we make a folder hierarchy and store data in the file format, and we share this data. What is good example? So maybe in your organization, if you are working, or maybe in your university, if your professor said, hey, if you want to share some file, go ahead. Once you connect your university network or maybe office network, on your computer, you will see a folder. Put on that folder, I will access from there. So this is called file server. So if you have this kind of requirement, then you can use EFS on AWS. Today, we are only going to cover S3 because again, this will be very detailed topics, advanced topic. So let's start with the S3. As I said, S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. And S3 is the object storage. So when you want to store any data in S3, you need to create a bucket. Let's say you have this AWS account. And in AWS account, you want to store, let's say, this video or maybe some images. So to store this data in your AWS account, you will be using S3 service, simple storage service. To store this data in AWS account, S3 will ask you to create a bucket. This is AWS specific term, so do remember it. Okay, you need to create a bucket. What is bucket? Bucket is nothing but a container where you will store your data. Couple of things about this bucket. This bucket name is globally unique. What does it mean, globally unique? So let's say if I've created a S3 bucket with name Praveen Misra, it means any of you cannot create a bucket with Praveen Misra name because this name is globally unique. This bucket, you can store unlimited amount of data. In this bucket, you can store unlimited amount of data and you can access from anywhere. When we say unlimited data, literally unlimited data you can store in the S3. Now, question come in your mind, Praveen, what could be the maximum size of data you can store in the S3? So, maximum big size of data you can store in the S3 is 5 terabyte. 5 terabyte is literally big. Okay, so 5 terabyte of data you can store in the S3. When you store this data in S3, then we don't call this data, once it will come in the S3, we don't call this a data. We'll use a specific name, this is called object. Object. As we have been understanding, right? S3 is object storage, right? So this is called object. So maximum size of your object could be 5 terabyte. Now don't call data, call a object. Now let's go to the AWS console and see from the practically how this looks like. So you are excited? You are with me? Give me a thumbs up. Very nice. Super, super. Okay. So let's go to the AWS account. And here, if I need to access S3 service, so what I'll do, I'll go here, type S3. And now this is S3 dashboard. Now to do anything in this AWS account, sorry, in S3, I need to create a bucket. And you see this option here, create a bucket. Okay. So let's click here. And here we need to select the region, in which region you want to create this bucket. Okay. So here, Stockholm. Okay. And then let's give the bucket name. Okay. Here I will give is Praveen Misra. Okay, and let's go ahead and try to create the bucket. And you see this bucket got created. So let's type here Praveen Misra. Okay, and we created this bucket. And now we have this bucket. This bucket has the different features and different things we can do. Okay, like you can set some property, you can give some permission, you can see the metrics, you can do some management, and this also access points. Okay, let's go one by one. So first things first, you see here we have the object. It means we can upload our data as a object in this S3 bucket. So let's try to upload some data. To upload the data, we can click here upload. And this asking, do you want to add a folder or you want to add a file? For me, let me add a file. Click here. Now you see here different images. Let me upload this one and upload. Now my image got uploaded, and if we close this and go back, we see this image is got uploaded. Now let's open this here. We see details about this image. If you notice, we see here we have unique URL for our object. And this URL we will be using to access this object. Now let me copy it and send it to you. And I want to know from you if you are able to access this image. If you're able to access, let me know yes, type yes. If not, let me know no and tell me what error you are getting. Access denied. No access. Access denied. No. Yes. So by default, when we create a bucket, your bucket is private. And only person who created this bucket, he can access it and root user of your AWS account. Now, to make this private, now if I want you to show this data, I need to make this bucket public. So for that, we'll go in the permission tab, and here you see we have a special configuration called block public access, and block public access is on. Block public access and block public access is on. Means you cannot access. So what I need to do, I need to off it. So let me go here and open this, edit it and unblock it and save this and confirm. Now, please do let me know if you're able to access it. No. Yes, this is expected. You cannot access it. Why? Very important. Please put a special attention here. It was not like this 5 years before. 5 years before, if you want to make your bucket public, there's one option. Just click it, make it public. What happened in the past? People made a mistake, and unintentionally make their bucket public. And you know, as we said, we can store unlimited amount of data and can access from anywhere. It means if you have some important data in this bucket and unintentionally made it public, means anyone can access it from anywhere. So this is big security problem. So when as this happened in the past, AWS made it very strict. So there's a multiple way to make it public. Sorry, there's multiple steps you need to do if you want to make it public. So we did the one step, and this is bucket level settings. It comes by default. Now next, again, if you want to make it public, you have to add the special permission. Okay, and this is called the bucket policy. So policy is basically two types. One is called identity policy. One is called resource policy. So when I'm creating a policy or any policy assigning to any identity, any human, this is called identity policy. But when you are creating a policy and attaching this policy to AWS resources, this is called a resource policy. So bucket policy is the resource policy. Again, this could be your certification exam question. So understand this. Now we need to add policy here. And for that, let me get the policy sample. I have the policy sample, and this should be in my schedule, command and script. And this is the bucket policy. Let me copy it. Let's go to the AWS console, and here edit and give this policy. And here we need to put this ARN of the bucket. Okay, now let me save it. Okay, let me save this. Now you please access and do let me know if you're able to access. Yes. So security is very important aspect on AWS cloud. AWS tech is very seriously, and trust me, I worked with the multiple cloud, okay, and I have one of the best experience with the AWS in terms of the security. They have 300 plus security features that you can use around your AWS account, AWS resources, and AWS services, and you have seen just a couple of them. Now, let's understand this. Okay, before that, you have seen the QR code, right? What is this QR code? If you scan this QR code is of my LinkedIn profile. Okay, so if you want to connect with me, you can use that QR code to connect with me, but make sure write a small note who you are and why you want to connect with me, because every day I get 5 to 6 friend requests. Okay, I don't accept everyone if I don't know why you are connecting with me. So if you want to connect with me, do that. I will connect with you. Perfect. Now coming back to the topic, let's understand this policy, as this is here is very, very important. So this policy, as you see, this is JSON template. Okay, something happened. Looks like my pencil got hang. This is not working. And this is the technology, and this is happen sometimes. So no worries. Let me try once again if this works. Looks like this is back. Okay, perfect. But before that, now we have only 15 minutes left. So let me ask with the Ursula. Okay, so looks like I don't know, Miss, I'm able to cover the compute as well. So what should we do? Shall I go a little bit faster, or we are going on the same pace, or maybe compute will be covered
I
later?
think let's keep the same pace, and I think you can still use maybe 20 minutes. So we will just spend a bit of time for questions and next steps at the end. But please keep the same pace. I think that's good.
Perfect. Super. Thank you so much. Now, let's understand this policy, and it's very important for you because sometimes people get confused, especially when they are new. So this policy, what you see, this is the JSON template. This is JSON template. And this is similar to the text. When you write something on your mobile, okay, or your laptop, this is the text. Sometimes people say, hey, Parveen, I am from non-technical background. I'm from non-technical background. I want to learn AWS. Can I learn? Okay. Yes, you can learn. In AWS, services are very simple. You can create from AWS Management Console. You can create policy with the JSON template. It's just a text. And if you want to automate your infrastructure, you can again use another AWS service called CloudFormation. Okay. Again, CloudFormation, you can write in JSON template and YML template. Again, this is similar to the text. So it's very easy. Anyone can learn. Okay. So just get out of this sort of mindset. Can I learn? Yes, you can learn. Now, coming back to the technical points. So this is JSON template. And here, let's understand what exactly this policy is doing. In this policy, you see we have the statement. And here we have one statement. And this is called array. Array means you are stacking things one by one in a, let's say, the one box. Okay. So this is array. If you don't know, don't worry. Just imagine a box. On this box, you are putting things one by one. Okay. So in this box, we have one statement, and this statement is the one policy. Like this, we could have the multiple statement and we could have the multiple permissions. Okay. Now let's understand this one by one. So here in this statement, we have a SID. This is called unique ID to identify this set of permission. And then we have the effect. Effect is, you see, this is allow. It also could be deny. So here, either you can allow or you can deny. But what we are doing here, we are allowing this bucket, we are allowing this bucket, on this bucket, to get object. So of this bucket, people can, we are allowing to get object on resource. Which resource? This bucket, Praveen Misra bucket. So on Praveen Misra bucket, this is a resource. So AWS service. What is S3? S3 is the service. On S3 service, we have created a resource. A bucket is the resource. Okay. Sometimes I have seen people get confused. What is service? What is resource? You have seen, I have also told multiple times, service and resources. So try to understand. IAM is the service. IAM user is the resource. Policy is the resource. S3 is the service. Bucket is the resource. So here, this bucket resource, we are allowing to get object from it, means, data from here. And here you see the principal, and principal, we have the asterisk. Asterisk means to everyone. Everyone. So whenever you see asterisk, asterisk means everyone. Okay. So if we try to read this, it's mean we are allowing access, we are allowing everyone to access data from this object. And as we are allowing this and attached to this bucket, that's why you all are able to access this bucket data object, this QR code. Now, one very important point, okay, about the IAM policy and the resource policy. So when you say IAM policy, identity policy don't have the principle. Try to understand. So if this policy we are attaching to someone, right? Let's say Vera, let's say Tania, maybe Nitin, maybe Andres, right? So when you attach a policy to someone, then we not need the principle. But in the resource-based policy, this policies get attached with AWS resource, then this resource need to know who can access it. So we need the principal. So we are saying principal. So here, when I'm saying strict means we are allowing everyone, but I can say no, only allow this to Nitin. Okay, so it will only allow to Nitin. So again, this is the certification question. In certification, you will see the two policy. It will ask which one is the resource policy. Okay. So all resource policy always has this principal concept. So that's something keep in mind. If this is clear so far, then give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Now, let's go a little bit in detail about the S3. This is very, very important topic. Now we have created bucket. We have uploaded data, and this is called object. We also make it public. We also understand by default, bucket is not a public. We have the multiple layer of the restriction that we need to enable it. We also understand the policies and what is difference between identity policy and resource policy. Now, let's try to upload another object here. Let's go here and upload another object. Let's select, let's say same image, okay, and scroll down. Here in property, you see there is the storage class. Try to understand, this is very, very important. Okay, we see here storage class. What is storage class? And you see by default, we have storage class standard is selected. So S3 has different storage class. So when you store your data, this data get stored in the different storage class. And why this storage class is so important for you? Because there is cost associated with this class. And this class has also different features. So you see here we have 7 classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes. Okay. So last time, I think 2 months before when I was accessing, it was only 7. Now this is 9. So AWS add features, services very frequently. Okay. So always, again, I'm saying keep close eyes on AWS documentation and AWS newsletter if you want to be up to date. So broadly, this class is basically based on 2 factors or maybe 3 factors. One is how, okay, one is about the cost. Okay, so a standard is more costlier as compared to, if you see here, Glacier. Okay, and a standard infrequent access. Okay, so from top, if you go on the bottom, okay, so this is top one is the most costlier as compared to the bottom one. So this is one thing. Another things, this also another factor about the access, how frequent you access this data. So if you want to access data more frequently, okay, so this kind of data can go on a standard class. But if your data is infrequent access, so those can go in a standard IA, infrequent access. Infrequent access. If your data is infrequent access, there will be the low cost, less cost. Okay, 2 things. Now, on top of that, one most important things you need to understand about S3 is how S3 store your data. So let's say we have this AWS account, and here we have this data, we want to store it. So when you create a bucket in S3, then you created this bucket in any region, right? So let's say it was EU North 1, means Stockholm. So, and we know, again, try to recap the earlier concepts. We know this region has multiple availability zones. So Stockholm has 3 availability zones. So what happened when you store this data in S3, it will go any of AWS ability zones in this particular region. Then what AWS do? AWS replicate your data in this data in 2 other ability zone. So now one at a time, this data is present in 3 ability zone. And if XYZ region, any data from any of this region, let's say this got deleted, it will immediately push it back. Because of this nature, because of this architecture, AWS provides 11 nines, 99.999999 around 11 times durability. Means if you are storing 10,000 objects, it means in 1 million year, there is chance one data get lost. Imagine this kind of durability we get from the S3. Because of this architecture, your data get replicated within 3 ability zones. Remember one important point. Your data will never leave the region where you are storing your data because of the compliance region. Okay, so AWS don't move your data. Okay, but in a region, your data will be within a region. So now, again, if you go back to our AWS management console and these classes, here you will also see we have, when you select the storage, then let little bit scroll up. Here you see ability zones. Your data going to store in 3 availability zone. 3 ability zones. More than even 3 ability zones. Okay. So again, because of this feature, okay, this is little bit costlier. Okay. So if you know, okay, if your data not need to be replicated in 3 ability zones, you don't need such a big 11.9 of durability. You can go for 1 zone infrequent access. So 1 zone infrequent access. So your data will be stored in one ability zone. Okay, so this you need to consider when you are especially working for a customer, or maybe this is also important for your certifications as well, different S3 classes. Perfect. Now, okay, so now we have couple of more minutes. Okay, so I can pick another topics, but I think it will be more details on S3. So I would say let's stop here, and maybe we can take some questions if you have. Okay, so make sure we are answering all your question.
So feel free to ask anything that you have been wondering. I hope we have answered the questions about links and things. But anything you want to ask, pop in the chat. English, Finnish, Swedish, we will try to cover them all. All right. Should we do it so that if we cover some practicalities, kind of the learning series, and then we can stop for questions still. So let me share my screen so I can see that there was a lot of questions in the chat also, like practicalities. How do I join? How do I register? So just a reminder, we will have webinar sessions, so tech sessions like this one. There will be immersion days, and there was a question around immersion days. Will there be recordings? We can record the demos for you. The accounts will be available for 12 hours during that day. So you can basically do the practices also in the evening. One thing that I would request from you, please register, because we need to also count that we have enough accounts for you. We will be adding a few sessions around career mentoring. There will be the certification prep, and there also will be networking events. When it comes to the calendar, so you have access to the main site, so the landing page, everything will be added there. So there will not be any hidden sessions. So once we add more, you will see them. And yes, so good to know. Delivery format. So give us also feedback. So feedback is really valuable, like pace of delivery, any request to do additional sessions, we are happy to accommodate. And feedback also allows us to improve. And you will have access to the videos, you will have access to the slides. And also when we do practices, you will get the scripts and things. So those will be there for you. If I go to the slide, so the next session will be next week. That's the immersion day. So you will see me together with Knowit team doing an immersion day. You will also see from our side a bit of additional essays if we have a lot of people over there. And yeah, that's basically a summary of the program. We are happy to network with you. What's helpful, like Praveen, you mentioned that put a little text when you're sending us an invite. Let's say that I was part of the group, etc. Happy to network with you. And I think at this point, maybe we'll just open up for kind of open questions, anything that we haven't answered, any requests, hopes, etc.
Yes, so this session is for you. So yes, this is good opportunity to you can type in the chat box. I think you can also unmute yourself, I believe. So would be happy to answer your maybe
There's
technical
probably,
question, non-technical question.
there's probably one question at least when it comes to local zone and availability zone. So there was a question, could you provide an example of a use case when you would use a local zone instead of, let's say, if you're in Stockholm, let's take availability zone. So what could be a good use case for that?
Perfect. So let me take this question. So let's say, okay, first things first, okay, about the compliance and governance, right? So here, a few years before, I was working for one of the customer in the Finland. They were in the insurance, and because of the nature of the industry, government don't allow to put Finnish data outside of the Finland. Okay, In that case, we cannot use a Stockholm region, though we have very close, it's just around, I think, less than 100 kilometers, something like this, okay, because of the compliance region. So that could be one of your region. Second good region is your application latency, okay. So let's say if you're hosting a game days, or maybe developing a game that could be played in a city, and this need very low latency, okay, ultra microsecond latency. In that case, you will be using local zones. And third, this is just beginning with the local zones. And as of now, I think AWS has more than 40 local zones. And trust me, in next 1 year, there will be 200 plus local zones. Do you know why? Because of edge computing. Okay. We are going on the self-driving mode, right? We don't sustain any latency, right? Because we want to communicate the server that is closest to us. Okay, so that is another reason. Okay, so these are the reason you should consider over ability zones or region to local zones.
There's one practical question that is around if I set up my own account. And actually, that is probably the most asked questions when we begin a new series. So I will have a couple of links for you that I will share in the chat. So the idea is if you want to have your own account, or let's say you already have your own account, with if you're working for a partner or if you're from an education institution, so you want to guarantee that if you're using free services, they are actually free. So how do you know which ones are free, which will incur a cost? And we have an amazing team in Dublin that has actually recorded videos on this and explained it. How do you follow? How do you create them? So I will drop those links here. And so you will have 3 links. So there's 2 YouTube videos that explains how the free tier works. Keep in mind, you can always, when you have your own account, you can always decide to use something that incurs a cost. So you need to understand how budgets work. And we are happy to cover that also live if you want to do that at some point. But have a check-in on that one. One really practical note that we noticed in the past sessions was that when you set up your account and it asks, give me a credit card, and if you're really worried about, I don't want to give my credit card if I run over my bill, you can also use what you can get in, at least in the Nordics, you can get like a prepaid credit card. You can attach that, and that guarantees you will never use more than the maximum amount of that credit card if you want to use services that will incur a cost. So that's one thing. When we do trainings, immersion days, you will get account access from our side. So we will take the cost on our end. So you will have that access for each immersion day for 12 hours during that day. The monthly limit is basically covered in the first YouTube video, so you can actually set up budgets. The only thing you need to keep in mind when you're setting up budgets and limits and notifications, if you decide not to act based on the notifications, you can still run a bigger bill than you were planning to. So let's say if you put like a monthly limit, I want to use maximum of $10 or euros. You can still use more if you decide not to stop any services. So it also requires action from your side. I know that a lot of like advanced trainings might do like automation which stops automatically services, but if you're the one stopping it, you have to take the action when you see the budget reminder. Let's see. Have we? So there was a question, can I already set up my own account? Yes, but please check out those videos in the chat. That would be something I would highly recommend. There's also the Udemy course registration link is again in the chat if you haven't done so. So please register so you will receive the course. And yeah, I don't see more questions coming in. At least I have enjoyed a lot. So I really enjoyed this session. So hey, fantastic job. So Anna is asking, do we need to open an account beforehand? No. So for immersion days, you will always get access to account from our side. We will provide you the access in the beginning of the session. If you are working from home, or let's say that you're studying and you can't join the session from the beginning, what you can do, you can register for the session. You can watch the demo video where we explain how it works, but you have to do it then during the same day. We will let you know how many seats there's available extras in the evening. So if you want to do like an evening exercise, you will get access to the account. But for that, you need to register for the session so you have access to the account. So we have enough accounts for everybody. Question, is there a risk of get a huge chances? Let me share a personal example of, so my work role has been around big databases, so like maximum availability databases. Let's say if I would spin off something that is an enterprise level database, and if I would have access to those services, let's say from my company, which I do, of course, but I work for AWS, but let's say I would be working for a partner, I could basically spin up services that could run a charge of thousands of dollars. So you can always use, of course, a lot more services. So keep in mind, you need to understand the free tier, and that's the reason for the links in the chat. So the budget notifications are for you to know if you're going over the limit. It's not for the system to actually stop running services. So those are basically things. So that's to keep in mind. Any other questions? There's a lot of thank yous. It's been really, I have also enjoyed a lot. There's a question of, was that around, yeah, so the availability of nines. So Pravin, would you like to touch upon like shortly on the availability zones, local zones, regions, and the nines? I can search for the link where you can also see which number of nines there's available.
Okay, so this varies from service to service. Okay, I really don't remember. I need to double check from the AWS documentation. And I believe it will be mostly equal. The availability we get for AWS ability zones, it should be same for the local zones as well. So I believe it would be same.
Yeah, and we have them listed in the documentation where you can check for also different services. So not only, let's say, S3, there's different services. What is the delivery guarantee? So you can check that, and so that's definitely something. One documentation that is good to know, we have something that we called well architected. So we are talking about different pillars of good architecture. There is also reliability pillar that actually touches upon this. That wasn't the link that I was searching for. I'm searching for the matrix, but if I can't find it here, I will share it later on. But so basically that is the important topic. And as an architect, so let's say if you're becoming an architect training for architect associate level, you need to understand what are the options of when you do global scenarios, or let's say you do local scenarios, and what the possible availability is there, and also how it affects cost. I think we are getting to the top of the hour. Do we get some kind of link, Udemy code? So in the registration, it will ask for your email, and you will get a voucher in your email address that will allow you to get a full discount. So we are covering the cost of that Udemy course for you that Pravin has made kindly available for us. And but you need to apply to get access. And also those watching the recording afterwards, I know that there was at least 40 people who had registered for the recording. Please do so in a reasonable amount of time. We can keep the link open for a while so that we know how many of you want to have access to the course. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. And Praveen, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Much everyone. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate people who turn on your videos and do the all interaction. I really do appreciate. I really enjoyed a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best.